12 Iranian fast boats, 1 U.S. Navy destroyer, open water, no backup needed. What happened next sent a message that Tehran will never forget. Welcome to Military Press US, your #1 source for the latest updates on the United States military, defense technology, and global security. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because every single day we bring you the stories that matter most about the world's most powerful armed forces. Today, we are talking about Iran. And the moment they made the biggest naval mistake of the decade, stay with us, because this story gets serious, fast. The Persian Gulf, one of the most strategically important and militarily tense waterways on the entire planet. For decades, this narrow stretch of water, just 615 miles long and in some places barely 35 miles wide, has been a pressure cooker of military tension between the United States Navy and the Islamic Republic of Iran. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy, known as the IRGCN, has a long and well-documented history of harassing, provoking, and attempting to intimidate U.S. warships operating in international waters. They use fast attack boats, they conduct mock attack runs, they get dangerously close to U.S. destroyers and cruisers, they point weapons, they block shipping lanes. The goal? To project power, to test boundaries, to see if the United States will blink. But here is what Iran keeps forgetting and keeps learning the hard way. The United States Navy does not blink. Today, we are breaking down one of the most dramatic and consequential Iranian provocations against U.S. naval forces in recent memory. What Iran did, how the Navy responded, what weapons were involved, and what the strategic fallout means for the entire Middle East. This is the full story. Let's get into it. It began like many IRGCN provocations do. Quietly, and then all at once. A group of Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps fast attack craft, between 10 and 15 vessels, began shadowing a U.S. Navy warship operating in international waters in the Persian Gulf. These were not fishing boats. These were not Coast Guard vessels. These were purpose-built military craft, armed, fast, and aggressive, operating in a coordinated tactical formation. The Iranian boats moved in closer, then closer again. Some crossed directly in front of the American ship at dangerously short distances. Others circled the vessel. Standard IRGCN harassment playbook, designed to provoke a reaction, create confusion, and generate propaganda footage if the Americans respond with force. But the U.S. Navy crew on board had seen this before. They were trained for it. They were ready for it. Warning signals were broadcast. Flares were deployed. The crew took up defensive positions. Bridge-to-bridge radio communications were attempted repeatedly. The Iranians did not back down. That was their mistake. On the American side, the United States Navy, operating under the authority of the U.S. Fifth Fleet, which is headquartered in Bahrain and is specifically responsible for naval operations across the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea, the Arabian Sea, and parts of the Indian Ocean. The Fifth Fleet is one of the most combat-ready naval commands on Earth. At any given moment, it has destroyers, cruisers, submarines, and carrier strike groups operating across the region, ready to respond to exactly this kind of threat. On the Iranian side, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy, or IRGCN. This is a separate and distinct force from Iran's conventional navy. The IRGCN answers directly to Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, not to Iran's regular military command structure. They are aggressive, ideologically motivated, and have a documented history of provocative and dangerous behavior at sea. Their fast attack boats are their primary tool for harassment operations. Small, fast, difficult to track on radar at close range, armed with heavy machine guns, rocket launchers, and in some cases anti-ship missiles. On paper, they look like a serious threat. Against the United States Navy, that is a very different calculation. The primary branch involved here is the United States Navy, specifically surface warfare assets assigned to the Fifth Fleet. The class of warship at the center of this incident was an Arleigh Burke class guided missile destroyer, one of the most capable and battle-tested surface combatants ever built. Let's talk about what an Arleigh Burke class destroyer brings to the table. Because when Iran decided to provoke one of these ships, they were not provoking a simple patrol boat. The Arleigh Burke class destroyer displaces nearly 9,000 tons fully loaded. It stretches 505 feet from bow to stern. It can hit speeds exceeding 30 knots, and it carries enough firepower to change the outcome of a regional conflict by itself. Key weapon systems on board include the Mank 41 vertical launch system, carrying a mix of Tomahawk cruise missiles, capable of striking land targets over 1,000 miles away with pinpoint accuracy, and SM-2 and SM-6 surface-to-air missiles for air and missile defense. The MAC-45 5-inch naval gun, capable of firing 20 rounds per minute at targets up to 20 miles away. Evolved Sea Sparrow missiles for close and air defense. The Phalanx close-in weapon system, a 20mm rotary cannon that can fire 4,500 rounds per minute and automatically tracks and destroys incoming threats. And let's not forget the destroyer's embarked MH-60R Seahawk helicopter, one of the most capable anti-surface and anti-submarine warfare aircraft in the world, fully armed and ready to launch within minutes. The Iranians brought fast boats and bravado. The U.S. Navy brought a 9,000-ton guided missile warship armed to the teeth with some of the most advanced weapons technology on the planet. You can already see where this is going. Here is why this incident matters far beyond the Persian Gulf itself. Approximately 21% of global petroleum liquids pass through the Strait of Hormuz every single day. Every tanker, every cargo ship, every liquefied natural gas vessel heading from the Gulf to Asia to Europe to America, it all flows through that narrow, critical choke point. Iran knows this, and Iran's strategy, for decades, has been to use the threat of disruption in the Persian Gulf as leverage, as a bargaining chip, as a way of saying to the world, push us too hard, and we will make the global economy feel it. The United States Navy's mission in the region is simple and non-negotiable: freedom of navigation. International waters are international waters. No nation, not Iran, not China, not Russia, gets to bully American warships out of legally navigable sea lanes. When the IRGCN harasses a U.S. destroyer, they are not just testing one ship's crew. They are testing American resolve. They are watching how Washington responds. They are sending a message to their own domestic audience, and they are watching to see if allies and adversaries around the world notice. When the U.S. Navy holds its ground, as it did here, it sends a message that echoes far beyond the Persian Gulf. Let's zoom out for a moment and talk about the bigger strategic picture here, because understanding why Iran keeps doing this is just as important as understanding how the U.S. Navy responds. Iran's use of fast boat harassment tactics is not random. It is a deliberate doctrine known as asymmetric warfare, the art of using cheap, fast, expendable assets to harass, exhaust, and potentially overwhelm a technologically superior opponent. The logic goes like this. A single Arleigh Burke class destroyer cost the United States taxpayer over $2 billion. An IRGCN fast attack boat costs a fraction of that. If Iran can force the U.S. Navy to constantly react, constantly maneuver, constantly burn fuel and wear down equipment responding to swarm tactics, they impose costs without ever firing a shot. It is the same logic that has driven asymmetric warfare strategy from Vietnam to Iraq to the waters of the Persian Gulf. But here is where Iran's calculation consistently fails. The U.S. Navy has spent decades specifically preparing for exactly this threat. The Fifth Fleet conducts regular exercises simulating fast boat swarm attacks. Crews are drilled relentlessly on escalation protocols, exactly how to respond at each level of provocation without firing the first shot, but remaining absolutely ready to fire the last one. More importantly, the United States has deployed dedicated systems and tactics to counter the swarm threat. The 30mm MAC-46 gun weapon system fitted on many destroyers was specifically developed for close-in surface threats, exactly the kind the IRGCN deploys. Combined with Seahawk helicopters overhead and Phalanx systems tracking every moving target automatically, an Arleigh Burke class destroyer in a threat environment is arguably the most dangerous object in the Persian Gulf. Iran is also gambling with something else: escalation control. Every time the IRGCN pushes the boundary, they risk a miscalculation. One boat that gets too close, one crewman who makes the wrong move, one weapon system that reads a maneuver as an attack. The United States military operates under incredibly strict rules of engagement. American commanders do not want a shooting war in the Persian Gulf, but they are prepared for one every single day. And Iran, despite all of its revolutionary rhetoric, knows exactly what a real war with the United States Navy would look like. That is why, ultimately, they always back down. Now I want to hear from you. Iran keeps making these provocative moves in the Persian Gulf, and the U.S. Navy keeps holding the line. But here is the question I want you to answer in the comments right now. Do you think the United States should respond more aggressively to Iranian provocations? Or is the current policy of firm restraint the right call? Drop your answer below. We read every single comment, and some of the best responses get featured in our next video. This is your channel too, so let's talk about it. Before we close out, if you learned something new today, if this video gave you a better understanding of what is really happening in the Persian Gulf and why it matters, do me one favor. Hit that like button right now. It only takes 1 second, and it helps this channel reach more people who care about U.S. military strength and national security. And if you are not already subscribed to Military Press US, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification, because we post new videos every single week, breaking down the most important military and defense news happening right now all around the world. This is the channel for veterans, for active duty service members, for military families, and for every American who believes that a strong military is the foundation of a peaceful world. We are just getting started, and you do not want to miss what is coming next. Iran challenged the United States Navy in the Persian Gulf. They brought speedboats and intimidation tactics. The U.S. Navy brought $2 billion of guided missile firepower, decades of combat-tested tactics, and the unbreakable resolve of the finest sailors on Earth. The outcome was never really in doubt, because here's the truth that every adversary of the United States eventually learns. Some sooner, some later, some the hard way. The United States Navy does not leave, it does not retreat, and it does not lose. From the Persian Gulf to the South China Sea, from the Arctic to the Mediterranean, the men and women of the United States Armed Forces stand watch every single hour of every single day, so that the rest of the world can sleep safely at night. This is Military Press US. We will see you in the next one.